Good morning, it's Mrs. Gale. We're going to talk today about Module 4, Lesson 1, and that is identifying and drawing points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles, and how to recognize those in some familiar figures. You might hear that word figures a lot, and that just means drawings. I call drawing a figure. So first, how do you think I could make a specific location on my board? So if I want a specific location on my board, I can just put a point or a dot. That's one specific location. Let's say I want another specific location on my board. So I can have a second location by placing another point. So if I want to identify my two specific locations of points, I can label them each with a letter. So I'm going to label this point here as A and this point here as B. So I have two exact locations on the board. I can actually put a bunch of different locations if I want to, but I'm just going to have the two. Now, I can connect my 2 points. And I would use a straight edge ruler, or if I don't have one, I can just take a plain piece of paper. And I can now connect my 2 points. So now I have 2 points that are connected here. And when we identify these, we identify this as a line segment. I have 2 specific endpoints. I can start at this endpoint and end at that endpoint. This is called a line segment. And the way that we write a line segment is if we start at A, it'd be line segment AB. I would write that just AB. And to show that it's a line segment, I put a straight line on top. I have a specific points. I have a starting point and an ending point. That is a line segment. They have 2 end points that I have connected. Now, I can also begin at B and go to A if I want to, and I would call that line segment BA with a straight line across. Again, a line segment has 2 endpoints, so remember that terminology, line segment. Now, what if I want to draw or put a point C, but I don't want it on line segment AB? So I'm going to put C, a point here, that exact location, my point, and again, I'm going to take my straight edge and I can connect them. Just like that. I have 2 endpoints again, so now I have line segment AC with a straight line up top, or I could have CA going the other way. Now, suppose I imagine that I want this line segment to go on and on, infinite, off the board. So I can extend this to make it longer if I want to. So, with your paper or my board, if it goes on and on, I can't draw that. So to show that it is infinite, that it can't keep going on and on, I extend it past C and draw an arrow. I take my straight edge, I extend it a little bit past A and draw an arrow. So that means that this is no longer having 2 endpoints. It now is extended in both directions infinitely, meaning it keeps on going. That is no longer called a line segment, it's called a line. So now, here's my first term, line segment. My second term is a line, meaning that it goes on in both directions, keeps going forever. We call that a line, and how we write that is different than a line segment. I would write AC, and instead of a straight line, I have a line up top of it with 2 arrows. Now again, I can also write it with starting here and going to A. So it could be CA. line CA, and I write it by CA with the line with the arrows on top. Okay? So first we had lines, 2 endpoints. So kind of think of it as your fist. Here are my endpoints. Here's one endpoint, here's 2. The second one, that's a line segment. But if I now, you can't see me, but if I have it out straight and straight, these are lines because they keep going on forever, no matter what. They don't stop like a line segment. Okay, so now that we have that, let's look at, can I draw another point here? Yes, I can. So let's say, what if I want to draw point D on my board? I'm going to just do another point, and I'm going to put D on here. It's not, I don't want it anywhere near a C line or line segment AB. So I have another point here, and with the straight edge, I want to connect it from B to D. I'm going to use B as my endpoint, and D, I'm going to extend it past D and put an arrow. So this is now our third term. It's different than a line because in a line, it goes infinite in both directions. This one, I have a specific endpoint or start point, and when I go through D, that arrow tells me it goes infinite in this direction only. So this figure now, again, my drawing or figure, is now called something different. It is called a ray. We don't call it a line, we call it a ray. So I'm going to put 3 here. This is our third term, a ray. It has a specific endpoint here, and it is infinite in one direction. That is a ray. And how we write a ray is we put B, D, we draw our line up top, but we only put the arrow in one direction, okay? Because it is only infinite in the direction of D. Now, unlike before, how I could switch the order of my letters, I cannot switch the order in array because if I was to write DB, that would tell me that the endpoint would start at D, and it's not. D is infinite, so I cannot write it in that direction, okay? So let's try one more point, okay? I'm going to draw another point. I'm going to draw E. I'm going to do it over here. I'm going to erase my ray down here, and I'm just going to put it up here. I'm going to write it here, ray, B, D. So I have some space. Okay, so here are my terms. I want to make sure you can see this. Putting it over a little bit, sorry. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to put E maybe right here. Okay, I'm going to put my last one here as E. Okay, so let's look at E. If I start at B and I trace along to D, okay, now I touch B and I trace along to point E. So let's make point E. Let's take our straight edge, and from B to E, let's go ahead through and let's connect B and E, and I'm going to draw the arrow. So again, that's a ray, B-E. Okay? So I kind of made a little figure here, a little drawing. So now, let's look at here. I can trace from B to D, and now I can go from B to E. Well, both of them have B as their endpoints, right? B and B. And both of these are rays. Both of these rays are connected. And mine kind of looks like a corner of a rectangle. So both rays originate or start at B and extend out in each direction infinitely, in direction D and direction E. Any two rays, ray BD, ray BE, any two rays that are sharing the same endpoint, we create an angle. So right here, when I make this little arc, I make that little arc there, that is an angle. This arc that I make here, when these two rays have the same endpoint, I can make an angle. And we can call that angle, I can go, where the angle is, that has to be your middle letter. So it's angle DBE. And the way I write that is, I draw a little angle sign, almost looks like a less than sign a little bit. Angle DBE. That's one angle, way I can express that angle. I can also start at E, because it's the same endpoint, and I can write it as angle EBD. Now, when you write angles, whatever that endpoint is that they have in common, that has to be my middle letter. So you need to make sure that is the middle letter, okay? I'm going to stop here and I'm going to erase my board and we're going to continue with our lesson.